Capricorn. Welcome to Yellow Cardinal Tarot with me. My name is Carole Francis and I'm coming to you from carolecares.com, and that's my website, and it's Carole with an E. And if you hop over onto my website, you'll also find offerings for personal tarot readings there for me, and also some offerings for shamanic healings. I am a shamanic practitioner as well. So it's been a while since I've come on here because I sort of took a month off because I was moving. So I'm back in my new place. Shouldn't say back in. I want to say back in my background because my last readings were, I had to take my background out because I was selling my home, and so the realtor suggested that this funny background wouldn't be appropriate. I thought that was funny. I thought I was going to keep it there actually, but I just couldn't imagine people coming in and ripping it down, and it came off beautifully. It's peel and stick, and I was able to apply it to this wall behind me. So here we are, Capricorn, with your reading, and I want to start off with using the Ehrenberg Tarot as well as clarifying with the Tarot of A.E. Waite. And we're going to be looking at what you're being asked to release that's no longer serving you. So I'm going to ask the tarot for one card for that. And you got the Star in Reverse, which is an interesting card to come out with. But that's okay. They're all interesting until I actually lay it all out in front of me, and then I start reading it and I go, okay, I see how these pieces fit in. So it's interesting because as I'm starting to unfold this right now, I really don't try to figure out what the cards mean and what the message is, because I literally read it intuitively, and it just sort of flows when I put it all down here. So I have to wait until it comes out. Then what we're going to do after we do that, when we read our star card and figure out what that one is, I'm going to look at what's coming up from your shadow that needs healing. So in part 2, we're going to be doing some shadow work. And if you're completely unfamiliar with shadow work, or maybe, there's been a lot on, you can go Google it a lot on the internet. But I'm going to leave you with a video at the end from my Carole Cares YouTube channel. And it's one I did, I think, a couple years ago, and it's just a beautiful summary of how I do shadow work, because I am a survivor and I've been healing intensively for 9 years. And so I decided to put that sort of together. It's hard for me to compile in a video of, how I heal and how I've been healing. But I think it's a pretty good job for a starting place for sure for you. And so I'll leave that at the end for you. But let's look at what's coming up from your shadow from healing. This is something from childhood. This is something from your adolescence that is related to this right here, this Star in Reverse. So for that card, you got the Queen of Pentacles. All right, so she's sitting right here in your shadow, in your unconscious. It's not something that you know, because we put those things away. We put things away when we're younger because they're either too painful, it's trauma, they're memories, and they need to come up for us for healing. Otherwise, it'll wreak havoc in our adult life until we heal it. And then what guidance does the tarot have for you in relationship to this situation? And this came out really quickly. You have the Seven of Wands here as a guidance. And that's powerful guidance, that card. All right, so let's get some clarifiers for you. So can I have some clarifiers, a couple cards for the Star for Capricorn? A couple cards for the Star. This deck's just warming up. It's been a while since I've been at this table actually, so it feels good to be back. I had to make sure that I was ready, and my table wasn't ready to go. Nothing was ready. It was a mess on this table. It's sitting in my office, and I just thought, it's gonna come, and the day has come when it was just like, okay, I'm back to the table. I'm back to my readings. So you have the Page of Swords in Reverse and the Knight of Pentacles, 2 cards underneath your healing. Your Star card. The Queen of Pentacles in Reverse, couple cards for that to clarify it. As you can see, I'm already, no, I'm not reading them yet. I just told you I'm not reading them, and that's all right. All right, couple cards here. One more card. There we go. You have the Devil card in reverse and the Two of Swords in reverse underneath your Queen of Pentacles in reverse. So everything's in reverse for these three cards, and that's important. You know, I do read cards in reverse. It's just part of my reading. So I will read it for you, and it's very important to read it, I think. Seven of Wands. Couple cards for that. That one wanted to come out. It was pushing. I wanted to put it back in, and it was like, no, you're coming out. The Empress and the Ace of Swords. I can't tell you how good this feels right now. I'm sitting here doing this going, oh. You know, there was a fear before I came on that, oh my God, I'm not going to be so rusty. I've forgotten all the cards, because it's been a while. Because I did 9 zodiac signs, and then, but I did it before I moved. And there were 3 left to go, which I'm doing right now. And, you know, I try to convince myself to do it right before I moved, and it was like, no, I'll be able to do it. I'll be able to do it. And it was just like I couldn't get to them. I have to be ready to do them, and so I'm ready today. So here we go, Capricorn. You start off with the Star in reverse, right? So as I said earlier, the Star is a card about healing. It's a card about doing your shadow work. It's a card about feeling those emotions. It's a card about wanting to get back to your authentic self. And that's what healing is about, right? But it's in reverse. And so this tells me that you are sitting with a huge resistance to getting back on, I want to say getting back on that train. And I'm going to tell you why, because there are so many times when I've wanted to quit my own healing journey, and I'd go to my life coach, who I still have now, my trauma life coach, and I'd say, I want to quit. I just want to fucking quit this because it was too painful. It's too painful sometimes. I get it. And it's just like, I want to quit. And every time she would say, you got to sit down, you got to journal from that. You got to sit down and you got to get on that page and write or type it out and say, I want to quit. It's too fucking hard. And I think that's where you're sitting right now. It's like you want to quit. You don't want to heal anymore. You want to stop this. You want to get off the train. And my life coach has always said that once you start that healing journey, you're always on it. You can try to stop the train. You can try to get off that train, but it's always going. We're always healing. It's a process, right? And so right now, I can see that you're probably stuck. You've maybe haven't been back in therapy for a while. Some of you that might have been in therapy, maybe you've never tried it. You've got all this stuff coming up in you. For me, I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? There was some people were pissing me off. Everybody was triggering me, and it was just like, what's wrong with me? There was nothing wrong with me. I just needed to heal. And so this is where you are right now, where your healing is kind of come to a halt for some reason. Now you got 2 cards underneath it, and oftentimes when we're in that spot, especially if we're feeling stuck, I do inner parts work, and I'm actually certified in that as well. And that's part of when you work with me, that's part of what we do is we do inner parts work. And so you'll hear me talk about a part of you when I read my tarot, because I read it from a parts point of view. The court cards for sure are parts of us, and so you'll hear me say that, because when we have trauma and when we are healing, there are parts of us that will come out, and that's what's causing all the craziness around us. And so sometimes they're in battle with each other, right? And that gets us stuck. And so the first card that you have is your Page of Swords, and the pages in my deck are inner children. And mainstream psychology says, you just have one inner child, but actually we have different inner children for different reasons. And this particular one has a sword. And the sword, the single sword, whether it's the queen that holds it or the king that holds it or the ace, page, it represents our authenticity, who we are, our truth, right? We're always trying to get back to that. And this is the inner child that holds your truth. When you're about 4, 5, 6 years old, that's how old my pages are in my deck. You knew who you were. You knew exactly who you were. And maybe, a lot of us would have told our people that were raising us, said, I want to learn how to play piano. Or I want a rattle. In my case, I had a rattle that was taken from me. And that was a big part of my memory that I had to get back to my shamanism. And so we would have been sometimes discouraged. Or, I often hear like stories of, there's this little boy, well, he's not little anymore, he's probably about 9 or 10. And he's a designer, designs clothes. And he designs clothes for a lot of the big stars. And since he was young, 4 years old, he told his parents, I want a sewing machine. I want to make clothes. And, they didn't tell him you're crazy. They went out and bought him a sewing machine. Incredible story. He's on TikTok, I think, and he's on Instagram. And it's a cool story. But it's something like that, right? And so there's a part of you right now that needs you to listen to them, to hear them, because they know who you are. And it's in reverse because there's a big, huge resistance here where you're pushing it down and you don't want to heal anymore. But there's a part of you that needs healing, that knew who you were, that's wanting to come out here. And so this is what needs released, right? So it's that whole resistance of you pushing everything down right now, not wanting to heal. That's what needs to come open, because that part of you, that inner part of you, that inner child has something to tell you. And then it's, I said that this was in reverse actually. The Knight of Pentacles. It wasn't in reverse here, but I think I remember saying they were all in reverse. So I'm going to read it in reverse. But the Knight of Pentacles, so the Knights are what I call my freedom fighters. They're that part of you that wants the freedom. And in this particular case, it has a pentacle. And so your body, the pentacle's about your body, right? Your body is what holds your truth. It's what holds all your emotions. Our truth isn't up here. It's not in our mind. We go through our life telling ourselves who we are. That's not who we are, you see. Our truth is in our body. It's with this inner child that holds your authentic self and your truth. And it's fascinating that this is partnered with that one because, the most critical aspect of loving ourselves, the critical aspect of what we can do to love ourselves and to show love is to ground into our body, right? Because in order for us to love ourselves, we have to embody ourselves. We have to be in our body. And so there's a real call for you here to get back into healing. But really, it's saying you need to get back into your body because there's an inner part of yours, your inner child that needs healing, has something to tell you about who you really are. Fascinating start for you, Capricorn. And so let's get to the Queen of Pentacles right here, because this is your shadow. And this is going to tell us why you're so stuck, why you're so blocked. What is it about childhood here? What is it about adolescence that you learned to do about, maybe not staying in your body? Because when we're younger and when we're told certain things, we can come out of our body quite easily. It's called dissociation and go up in our mind. Imagine, like I said, when I talked about that little boy earlier, when he said, I want a sewing machine, I want to design some clothes. So imagine if his parents had said, what a stupid idea, go back in your room and go play with your truck. And that child would have learned that he didn't matter, and that what he knew intuitively didn't matter. And so he would have shut that down. And that's when you go into your mind and you say, well, I don't matter. anything I want to do. I don't matter. I'll tell my parents and they'll tell me it's stupid. And so when you were younger, you have the Queen of Pentacles right here who's blocked. The Queen is our feminine side. We all have two sides. We have a masculine side and we have a feminine side, right? And for too long now, it's been the masculine side of us that has really, and in society, it's been the masculine that has led, right? And there's a real pull now towards our feminine side, because I think the feminine side of you, no shock that she's holding the pentacle, right? The feminine side of us is the side that's grounded, is the side that's in connection with our emotions, is very much embodied. And so that's in reverse. And, you know, when that side of us is pushed down when we're younger, when we're not allowed to stay in our body for some reason, right? We can hold a lot of anger. And I didn't say that this Knight of Pentacles right here, the fact that there was something when you were younger where you weren't allowed to be free and do what you wanted to do and be authentic. And that part can become very angry as well. And so I'm seeing here that there's some real anger here that needs to be expressed. And oftentimes we need to get in touch with that anger before we can get in touch with this little inner child that needs healing. Because oftentimes in order to heal these inner children, we need to get in touch with our grief as well. But the anger will sit and block that grief. And so let's look at why, when you were younger, why were you out of your body? In other words, why did you go up in your head? And our ego self will do that. It'll take us up in our head because it is a protector part. So it'll protect us from these big emotions like grief. You know, when there was something that you wanted to do and you were prevented from doing it, and literally your authentic self was blocked. Let's look at the cards here. Well, there's something to do with, the Devil card talks about attachments. It talks about oftentimes addictions. But because this is your adolescent self, it's your childhood, I'm going to say that there was something you were attached to when you were younger, and it was blocked. Now, I'm going to read it a little bit differently because it's in your shadow. So I'm going to say there was something when you were younger that you were very attached to. I talked about my rattle earlier, and I don't know why I did it, but that would be something here where there's something that you were attached to that I'm going to say was taken away from you. What was it? What was it that you were attached to? That was taken away. Or you were told, no, you can't have that. You know, like that little boy with the wanting a sewing machine. You know, his parents didn't say you can't have that. So what was it? What was it that was taken away from you that you were attached to? The next card is the Two of Swords, and that's in reverse. You see this in this person right here. You know, the swords, I said, talks about our authenticity, but there's two of them here. Two of them that are crossing this individual's heart. She's blindfolded. She can't see her emotions behind her. This is in reverse here. When you were told when you were younger that you couldn't have this, or it was taken away from you, that's when you went right up in your head, right? No more emotions, crushed your heart, because when you were younger, it was too painful to feel. Well, you don't matter. You can't have this. And you knew intuitively that this is who I am. This is what I want. But for some reason, it was taken away from you. And then let's look at what guidance does the tarot have for you now in relationship to this situation. How do you get to this? Where do you go? Because I can tell you this. I don't want to leave you hanging. And remember that this is a process to heal. I think that there's a memory here behind this. So what do you need to do to get to this memory? And this is what the tarot was going to tell us. Well, the first thing is the Seven of Wands. Seven of Wands is, I love this card. This is the card that I love, probably my favorite card in the deck, because it really represents my own journey in that I had to believe in myself. I had to take this journey alone because there were too many people around me that were telling me to get off this pedestal, this healing journey that I was going on, you see. And so I think it's time for you to get back on this healing journey. This individual, if you look at, I love this Ehrenberg Tarot because it takes a snapshot of the Rider-Waite deck and it focuses on his feet. You know, the Seven of Wands has this individual that's standing there with one wand, trying to fight off all these individuals below him that they have these wands, right? And this individual is standing there on a pedestal by himself, a nonconformist, refuses to follow what other people around him are telling him, right? And so this is you. The universe wants you to go out on your own here and ignore what people are saying to you about getting back to your true authentic self, going back on your journey. Maybe you've told people around you, you know what, I think I want to go back into therapy. You know what, I think I want to go get some more help. I want to, you know, and then they'll try to discourage you from doing it. This is your journey. And sometimes we need to stay quiet and go out on our own and say, you know what? This is where I'm going. And then there's some clarifiers here for you. You've got the Empress. And I remember she was the card when I was shuffling and I said she wanted to come out. She's strong. Here's a major arcana card for you. This is, you have one, the Devil card, 2 star Devil card, and this is the third one. She is the third card in the major arcana, and she represents the second half of the feminine archetype. You know, we talked about the feminine energy, the Queen of Pentacles. She is the feminine energy. She is embodied. She's in her body. She, in particular, is she leads her life with her emotions, right? She's our emotional, our creative side, the Empress. And so she's here for you. She's here for you, cheering you on. It's like, get into those emotions. What are those emotions that you need to get to? That this little guy's healing, that this little guy's holding. He needs healing. What are you feeling here? I'm going to say that, you know, there's a hell of a lot of grief here that probably wants to come up, you know. Somebody took something away from you when you were younger. And then you've got this Ace of Swords, right? Here's this new beginning. It's like this universe says, you know, we're going to give you 2 powerful cards here. One is this beautiful Empress that's here. The energy of the Empress is here for you to get in touch with those emotions. Because when you get in touch with those emotions, Capricorn, you're going to start going towards your authentic self. Talked about that sword, right? And, you know, I don't make up this shit, but, you know, I talked about it right here. You know, I talked about this inner child of you, and I shouldn't call it shit because it's not shit. It's real here. Here's your authentic sword again. You know, this is a gift from the universe that says, let's go towards your authentic self. We're going to go, once you start to really get in touch with those emotions, sit with those emotions, ground into those emotions. Now, I'm going to leave you, I told you, with this video right here. Right here, it's called about facing your shadow, right? And there's going to be some videos in there about teaching you how to ground, because that's what I think you need to do, Capricorn, so that you can start to get back on that train and get in touch with your authentic self. So have compassion for yourself for what you're working through, Capricorn. This is a really difficult journey, your healing journey, but it's the most important one. Take care, and I'll talk soon. Bye.